stay consistent with our brand and how we create our content. You know, we have our colors and our fonts and that sort of thing. And we like to experiment with those as well and making sure that makes sense and everything. But yeah, that's kind of been my role in what I do, and looking forward to, you know, kind of sharing some more knowledge with you guys.
Hi, I'm Russell Hoflick. I'm the creative director of video services for Ohio State Athletics. I've been here 20 years. I started out as a student and have just worked my way up through the years. Our area oversees pretty much anything video. We oversee all the video board operations for all the athletic events here at Ohio State. We oversee the broadcast streams for Big Ten Network, or the Plus channel, the Big Ten Plus. And then we do creative content we used to do creative content for all 36 sports, but you know, now we have some teams that have their own creative unit, so we handle all the others. So we do creative content for pretty much every team except for football and basketball and women's basketball. So.
Real quick, before we go much further, I do see we have many people joining us on Zoom, and we're thrilled to see you. We do have the Q&A open, and we absolutely want to hear from you guys too, so please ask your questions. I would be happy to relay them. If you see a question you really like, please give it an upvote, and that'll help us determine which questions maybe we get answered quickly in case we run out of time. Any questions that we don't get to, I promise that we will address offline, so please don't hesitate to ask anything. But I'm going to get us started, unless anyone else has a question. I have 1,000 questions for all of this. You know, when Danny first said to me that he wanted to be a graphic designer, I mean, I'd be totally frank, like I had this internal shudder because I thought he's never going to make any money doing this. Like, couldn't he be something that would be more, you know, better money? I mean, in truth. So can you help us see what is the career potential to be in a creative field, and how has that evolved since you guys got started? Maybe Andy, you can start.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's, you know, one of my good friends that I worked with, it's funny, we say 10 years ago what our industry looked like compared to today. And I mean, it's completely different. We were doing a ton of print. I mean, most everything we did, probably 80% of what we did was print. And now 80% of what you do is digital, social, all that stuff, right? But as far as the field itself, I mean, design can go many different directions. You have graphic designer, you have an illustrator, you have, you know, your digital content, social media, which is in a similar vein as that. So, you know, as you talk about the actual design field and what it is, it has a lot of potential as far as the different avenues you can go with it. Now, of course, starting with the basic skills of understanding Photoshop, understanding the different programs, the Adobe platforms, that's the first start of what you need to do is understand how to work those, because that is essentially what a designer is understanding how to communicate visually something that you're trying to communicate to your audience. And in order to do that, you need the programs to help develop that. You need to understand the skill set of foundational skills of color, of like typography, of layout. And those things are really what create that foundation of who a designer is. And when you talk about the actual field itself and you know, if you're looking at salaries and so forth like that, I mean, there's so many areas you can go into. I mean, of course, we're here with sports. You see all over the board, there's a need for designers. I think teams and colleges are understanding the value of what a designer and what a creative person brings to them. It's starting to get more and more like that. I mean, the same with video. I mean, especially with video right now. But there's absolutely a need for it. There's always going to be a need. And whether it's sports or whether it's outside of sports, I think the whole world is understanding the value of marketing, of creatives, and what they can provide. I mean, because that's what you're seeing. I mean, TikTok, you're seeing all these social platforms. These are individual creators, what they're doing in providing brand with who they are. And yes, some are better than others as far as what it looks like. So, and I think that's what's separating those that are here compared to here is either their experience or their professionalism in what they do, right? So you could tell somebody as a designer, and it's funny, we're going through the process right now of hiring 2 graphic designers. So if you're interested, check out our site. But we're going through that right now. And I mean, the first thing I look at is the resume. If your resume doesn't look good, I'm immediately saying, okay, sorry, you don't have layout, design skills, whatever that is, right? Because that's the first thing you see. You're applying for a design position. You better dang well have a good resume, because if you don't, then that kind of tells me something. But going back to your question, Nicole, I mean, as far as the actual field itself, yes, there's a need. Don't ever be worried about trying to find a job, because you will find one for sure. It's just a matter of where and how what fits for you. You know, the one thing that I talk about when you interview is like, okay, you could be a heck of a designer, but if you don't fit and gel within our team, and we'll get more into that in some of the other sessions that we talk about, but then you have to understand, okay, what is that fit for me and how does that want to be? So that's why I say when you be intentional as far as what you're trying to achieve and where you want to be, I mean, it's very specific, because I think if you really strive to be what you want to be and where you want to be, then you're going to have an opportunity to do what you want.
Mary Kate, want to jump in?
No, I mean, Andy nailed that on the head. And I will say, Nicole, my mom had that same fear when I told her I wanted to be a graphic designer. She was like, whoa, 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 what's plan B just in case? Which my plan B was to minor in business management, which I do use in my career, but I definitely use my visual communications undergrad degree a lot. Yeah, I mean, Adobe updates constantly, right? There are constantly new social platforms, and to be on top of those things puts you a step ahead of everyone else. Being a designer, kind of staying on trend, you're the forefront. You're who people above me come to me and say, hey, you know, what is this about? And I'm like the thought leader in our department to, you know, take that lead, which is really exciting. But there's always that need, because, you know, our AD has more things on his mind. He can't, you know, stay on top of these trends. That's up to me. So there's always a need for graphic designers, especially like websites too. Struggling right now, I feel like, but need a lot of good design.
So Russ, in some ways though, it seems never ending. Like, you know, Mary Kate just mentioned websites. Andy mentioned, you know, even just the core graphic design skills that would take you to be able to create a good resume. I know that your focus is video. Like, how do people know where to put their energies? You have to know everything in order to get a great job.
I don't believe you need to know everything. It's good to know 2 or 3 skills. It makes you a little more well-rounded and able to accomplish more. I know in video, it's nice to have someone that can do a little bit of motion graphics along with editing, and, you know, be able to go out and shoot good solid video. You know, if you're able to do a couple things, it makes you a little bit more marketable.
Yeah, and to kind of add on that, I mean, you're right, Russ. And I think the thing is, as a young designer, it's explore everything. You know, you say you're jack of all trades, or you have just one trade. I mean, eventually you'll get to where you want to be as far as that skill set in your career, but start all over the place. Start being illustration, start drawing, start doing this, that, and the other. I mean, I know Sammy, I mean, being an illustrator, what he does, I mean, I know that translated well with being a designer. I mean, if you can sketch and you're a heck of a sketcher, and how that translates over design and everything, I mean, that just adds an additional skill. I mean, we hired somebody, a student, his name's Ren right now. He's a heck of an illustrator. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with his work, but he's done a ton of stuff for us. It's like a student right now with him, I would hire that dude if I could right now, because he's that good. But the idea of him taking the time to learn that skill, and I mean, that's an illustrative skill, of course, but it translates over to everything else, like I said. So, so explore it. I mean, whatever field you're in, like Russ said, Premiere and After Effects and animation and whatever else. I mean, have those foundational skills, because you don't know what it's going to translate to. You know, if I'm looking at a resume and I say, okay, they have Illustrator and Photoshop, but they don't have InDesign. Well, we do a lot of InDesign work. So I'm like, all right, well, that might not be what I want. So make sure you know in your field what programs these professionals are using, so that way you're not falling behind. And when you try to get a job, you have that on your resume saying, and it can be anything. It just work at what you're doing. You make up a project. I say this all the time to a lot of the people that I interview. You don't have to have a resume or a project that you've done for somebody. It's like, make up your own project. You know, it could be whatever. And some of those are the best ones. You know what I mean? The passion of what you do. Create a project that you really love to do, whether it's a poster or whatever it might be. Shoot it, do it,
Figure it out.
figure it out. Absolutely.
And I would just add, understanding all of those skills, even if you don't necessarily have them, like understanding how video operates or that field, or knowing what is possible in animation, makes you a better designer, because it doesn't limit what you're thinking of when you're brainstorming ideas. And it helps you communicate better when you're asking other people on your team, hey, you know, I think this animation would be really cool and elevate what my design is thinking of, but I need someone else's skill to kind of supplement that. It just makes you better in the long run too.
Yeah.
someone who wants a career as a social media manager or director of digital strategy?
Carson.
You wanna come up and
That's,
tackle that
yeah,
one,
so
Carson?
that's not my space completely, but yeah, if they can hear Carson, if you
Well,
wanna,
come
or
on.
anybody else, yeah, I mean, feel free to come up.
Round of applause for Carson.
Hey, come on up here, buddy. You didn't know you're gonna be part of this panel, did you? Take a seat, my friend. Take a seat.
We're all about getting the right people to
That's
answer
how we
these
do it.
questions,
That's
so
right. We
welcome.
got everybody in the room here.
The question is, what are key skills that someone would have to have for a career as a social media manager or director of digital strategy?
So first, I'd say how to work with these guys,
Mhm.
because they're really the ones who are going to be providing the content to you, and then being able to understand what your brand is about, not you personally, but you know, the team or entity, league, company you work for, what their goals are, what their history is, how they're positioning themselves in the marketplace. So, you know, it's Philadelphia, like it's a solid city, right? So how would you as a Sixers fan position them amongst all NBA teams, but also other Philly teams? Or for me at the Columbus Crew, we're the OG MLS team, the very first one in the league. So going back on our history, we've won 2 MLS Cups. So reminding our fans and then anyone else in the league, and also everyone in Columbus, that we're a championship club. So understanding the history, knowing how to work with the people who are providing the content, and then being able to actually know when, how, where to post, and then the kind of voice that you're doing across all those platforms. So that's as general of a statement as I can make without getting too
We'll get into the
detailed.
weeds a little bit.
Yeah.
But you know, you said, there's something that you said that has resonated with me because you said it a few times, which is work with these guys. And I think.
Or gals.
Oh, with
Guys or
people,
gals,
working with
people.
humans. But I do think one of the things that we don't think about a lot is being someone other people would like to work with. And are you someone that?
Showing our videos, showing our
Oh.
video.
Oh,
Digital
okay,
people.
sorry. Yeah. And, you know, Mary Kate, I'm wondering if you could get us started then, Russ. One of the, you know, those kind of soft skills, you know, we could sit here all day and will talk about kind of hard skills that people need to have to work in a creative space. But when you get a lot of creative people together, it's a lot of egos. It's a lot of people who are highly skilled. What are you looking for in terms of the types of personalities that you'd like to work with? And what are some ways that maybe, especially people young to the industry, how they might make mistakes in that regard?
Yeah, I can get us started. One, I would say a good communicator above all else. Communication is so key. Being able to communicate your ideas that Andy touched on earlier, but also just communicating within the department, communicating with people like Carson, your social team, your SIDs, all across the board. I would also say like being able to take constructive criticism, especially as a designer. People are always going to have something to say about your work, whether you liked it or someone else didn't like it. But being able to take that criticism, use it constructively, and definitely don't take anything personally. I think I see a lot of young people come into our department. We're a pretty small department here at Loyola. And so we do have a lot of hands in different places. And I see a lot of people get a little bit of criticism from one project or one thing, and then it kind of like shuts them down a little bit for like a week. And we just can't have that happen because we're so go. So I would say, yeah, being able to just take constructive criticism and being able to communicate. I would also say being designers, being the creative suite, we definitely are the fun office. We love brainstorming, coming up with these big ideas, these big projects, but then having someone that is going to take that initiative to execute. Like you have to actually execute your big ideas and your big plans and your designs.
Russ, you work with a lot of students.
Yeah, we have a lot of students and I can echo that. With the students, you know, the ones that come in are the ones that get the work. The ones that come in and they show up and we see them, they're the ones that we give projects to. They're the ones that we, you know, let experiment a little bit more. But yeah, those soft skills are important. I mean, we're looking for people that are motivated. We're looking for people that, you know, can communicate their ideas and want to try and do new things. We're always looking for new ideas and new ways expand and try different things.
Andy, what are mistakes that people make?
Biggest mistake that I think is, like Russ said, it is like being motivated and being engaged. We've had students in the past that we worked with that, hey, we're excited, we're interviewing you. They're a part of it. They have a great interview with us. All right, we're going to hire you. Then as the internship goes on, they're kind of quiet. They're not as invested. And we're like, okay, well, what's going on here, right? Because as Russ said, if you're invested, you love what you do, you have a passion for it. We work in a process for our internship where we start small, right? We start simple, and then we start building it based off of your skill set, based off of how comfortable we are with you and how well you work with the client. And as you start building that and you come to us saying, I want more projects, or I wanted this, what do you think about that? If you have that interaction, we're going to elevate you quicker. And if you don't, then you're going to be stuck with these smaller projects. You might not be happy with them, but that's the reality of it. So the mistake is not being invested, not talking to your supervisor, making sure you're engaged with them, because that's exactly right. Like Russ said, and Mary as well. I mean, that engagement, that the critique sessions you have, what is some input you can provide? And as a young professional, as an intern, as a student, and whoever you might be, the biggest mistake is not speaking up. You know what I mean? So even if it doesn't always have to be right. In the creative field, we know our work is subjective, right? You think something could be great, but you never know, right? So the idea of speaking up, giving your thoughts and your opinions, because there are so many times that we got awesome projects based off of an idea that a student have. And that's what we love. We love that fresh perspective, because we, being in the field for 20 years, 15 years, what do you got?
Math was never a strong suit.
Math isn't a strong suit.
10, I'll say
10 years. I
Yeah.
mean, it's we don't always
Don't
have the
hate
idea.
that.
So getting this fresh blood in here is great, and we love it. So make sure you're prepared, though. That's the other part. Be prepared, and don't just speak for the idea of speaking. Be prepared what you do, but I think that's a big part of it.
That's a great.
One small thing I want to add is that no idea that you may have is above or below your position at an organization. So even if you're an intern, you can still bring up huge ideas to your bosses, to your boss's bosses. And then even once you elevate in your career, as Andy was alluding to earlier, you want to pay it forward. So make sure that your interns, make sure that the coordinators and managers and directors, or whoever is beneath you on the org chart, has that ability and that comfort with you to be able to share that idea, feel like they're heard. Sometimes not all ideas are going to be executed and put into motion, but that doesn't mean that that's dead. Some of the great music producers in the world sit on tracks for 7 to 15 years. And then once that track finally gets produced, the beat's done, the rapper raps over it, whatever, and it gets released to the world, it's a hit. So never think that these things are ever dead in the water. Although it may kill your motivation, know that that's just temporary, and you should be able to come back to that eventually.
Yeah, Andrew.
So I just wondered, because I really don't know this works, I guess this question is more directed towards me. Are there opportunities for students to shift like the athletic to social media accounts, or is that not like something that's super?
Students usually don't manage it, just because our communications team, we have a handful or more communication directors within our team that oversee certain sports, right? So there might be some involvement with students, but as far as actually overseeing it, not that I'm aware of that's ever been done as far as the students. But if you're interested, I mean, absolutely. I mean, if you show interest and you're good at it, there possibly is some opportunity to do it, but it's so hard because they're so invested and you need so much time dedicated to it that the time the students are in the office compared to what you need, just that dynamic doesn't always work. But hey, always ask, man. That's the first thing.
At minimum, you could be a large participant.
Yeah. And to elaborate on what Russ just said, some of the coolest content that, while I was here with OSU, some of the coolest content we got were from students, especially on a football game that we have awesome creatives in football who are providing us great photos, great video. But they're focused on the action on the field and on the sideline, where we can get students and interns throughout the stadium, being in Block O after a touchdown, seeing that place go nuts and being embedded in it and seeing what that experience is like, and be able to share that on the channel. So from the involvement side, it's mostly content capture.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, we got one here from Joe. Welcome, Joe. We're glad you're here. Says there's a ton of content being produced on a daily basis. Where do you get your inspiration from? And how do you make your content stand out among your competitors? You want to jump in, Mary Kate?
Sure. Yeah, I would say I get my inspiration from my competitors, you know, especially being in Chicago, we're going against every day for our events, the Bulls, the Blackhawks, the Cubs, the White Sox, you know, all these professional sports teams, but like why is our ticket the hottest in town? And it's kind of knowing your brand, and knowing what makes your brand stand out, your event stand out, your team stand out, that then informs kind of your design and your take on something. And that's what makes it stand out. You know, our audience is a little bit different than the Bulls. Okay, well, how and why and how can we make that difference are like the value add. So
Every day I have a coach come to me and say, I saw this video, and then they give me a team and they want something similar. So, and going back to like the soft skills a little bit, you know, that's where I say, okay, I'll take your idea and I'm going to mold it to make it something Ohio State and not just a complete rip off of somebody else. So, but it's good to know what their end goal is, you know, seeing what they really want to accomplish or what they're trying to achieve and what their idea is. And then we can actually talk about it and spin it or mold it to be, you know, Ohio State and then produce it.
And I would add, even looking outside of sports, like looking at other industries, for inspiration as well. There's this one guy, Gibson Hazard. I have no idea how he does what he does or how to even describe where he fits in, but like the stuff that he produces is out of this world. And then just looking at music industry, looking at film, honestly, anything and everything, comic books, art, like get inspiration from outside of sports, because then that's what's going to differentiate what you make and how you do what you do more than just another designer in sports.
A perfect example of that, we had a couple students last year, actually it's 2 years ago, but we have like a Slack channel with all of our students, and we have a random channel on there where people just throw in random things that they see. And someone put in a random thing, and it was basically rotoscoped videos. They had taken videos and they completely painted over it and created animations of like cool moments in sports. And then the pandemic hit, and I had, you know, all this time to work on stuff, and everybody's working from home. And so we talked about that idea, and we always are creating these boring compliance videos that basically the point of the video is, you know, if you don't follow the rules, if you don't follow the rules, these moments wouldn't happen. And so we would take great Ohio State moments, and we did that. And it took months, like, you know, people frame by frame painting over, and every student had their own little style, but we created some for hockey and basketball and football, and they came out just amazing. And it was just because of an idea that a student had, is one of them random thoughts they saw somewhere else.
Other questions, guys? So we sort of, your question? David, jump in.
Yeah, so you talked about like how the industry is kind of like not a copycat industry, but a lot of people get motivation from looking at other people. I feel like, how do you balance originality with looking at other people's work and then kind of taking that style?
Yeah, I think Carson kind of hit on this. It's really, or whoever did it.
I'll take credit.
It's understanding your competitor, what you're looking at, and making it your own. I think Russ said that too. It's making it your brand and who you are, because it has to fit who you are. Because if you do something, you're copying it, and yes, it might have a similarity look to it, but then it's okay. Well, it's these different textures. It's this different design element that we incorporate into and making it our own. It's like, what does that mean, right? So yeah, you're right. A copycat. I mean, you see it all the time. It's somebody did something 2 years later, our work is exactly the same as X college, right? And it's flattery because you know they're looking at us and what we're doing. So a lot of times, you know, Ohio State in our brand, yes, a lot of people are looking at it saying we want to replicate who they are. And we take pride in that for sure. But we also put in the work and make sure that what we do as experts looks good and works with what we're trying to do. So yeah, the copycat world for sure, it's out there. Trying to be original, it's very hard. You know, I mean, the other thing too, it's making sure whatever you're doing is for a purpose, right? I mean, you want to be different to stand out, but what does that different mean? If you have a purpose behind it, then yes, there's intention with it. But just don't do something for the sake of doing something to be different, and then it serves one purpose and then it's dead, right? I think that's the other part of it is how does it live? How does it survive? Having a plan behind it will help. So just work that into it as well. And I mean, sometimes you'll have a one-off. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but just understand that, okay, what is the plan for it and try to execute in that direction too.
It does help that we, like Ohio State now, have a really strong brand identity now. And there's like a rule book or a playbook on what the content kind of looks like. So that really helps. So even if somebody does bring you something, you know, that they want you to mimic or copycat, we have a guideline on how to make it Ohio State and how to put our own spin on it.
Yeah, and I'll just add on, just going from the University of Miami, which has a really strong brand and really distinct voice, being in Miami and having their history, coming to Loyola Chicago, a Jesuit institution in a great city, but you know, is this underdog mentality that's now growing, enrollment's growing, the school is growing, and our athletic department is growing. You have to understand that, you know, I can bring my experiences from Miami, absolutely, to the department, but we do not operate the same way. It's understanding that, like, I can't just pull something that we did and say, oh yeah, we can absolutely do this. Well, that doesn't fit our brand, our values, our guidelines at all. But bring that experience with you. It's always good experience, whether it was good or bad, you can learn something from it, maybe just in how you operate with others, but the design or the like brand is different. It's going to be different and you have to make it your own.
Absolutely. Well, the topic that we had, and I don't want to lose sight of it, is not only about what are creative fields, but how we get jobs. Some of you would like a job at some point. And I know, you know, okay, so we can talk about having hard skills, we can talk about having soft skills, but that doesn't necessarily help us get jobs. So what are some of the things that we're not thinking about? And I want to preface this by saying I met with someone recently. She was a graduating senior. She walked into my office and said, I want a job in sports media. And I said, well, what's your major? And she said history. And I said, what have you done in sports media? And she said, nothing. And it took me a moment to kind of like engage. So I would like to know what advice you would have given that person, but also what advice would you give these people who are in majors and are positioning themselves, but yet will still be one of 1,000 people whose resumes cross your desk?
I'm gonna say get started now. I like to hire freshmen and sophomores so I can train them up. So that way when they're juniors and seniors, they're creating the content that we need. You know, it always kills me when someone who's a senior and they're graduating in 3 weeks and they're like, hey, can I come work for you? You know, I'm really want to get in this. It's like, it's going to take me longer than 3 weeks to get you hired. So come as early as you can. I know if you're a junior or senior, like try and get out now as quick as you can. And, you know, we're always looking for students, but the earlier that you can start as a student, that helps. After that, it really is about making connections. Like if you're a senior, it's just, you got to start networking and making connections and doing what you can. Like people call me all the time and will ask me for, you know, 30, I had somebody 2 days ago call me and we spoke for like 30 minutes on the phone. And I just, anything that he wanted to know, I tried to help him. I gave him resources and links on, you know, where you can find jobs and, you know, anything I can do to help.
Well, that's it. I mean, you guys right now you're doing it, right? You're here. That's the first step, as Russ said. I mean, being here, knowing you want to find ways to connect. I mean, yes, networking 100% is the way to go. I mean, we know that networking, talking with others is going to help you get that foot in the door. And that's always the first step, right? So for sure, that's the number one thing. You know, being invested in, like I said, I think understanding really, and it's hard to say that because what some of you younger folks in here, like, you don't always know what exactly you want, right? So that's why you're here. You're trying to find that direction of, okay, what do I want to be? Because that's like, I talk with my son, he likes to draw and stuff. It's like, what can you do in design? It's going to Illustrator, this, that, another, whatever it is. But as I've touched on before, it's expanding that skill set and understanding, okay, what do I really like? And then trying to find at least that person or a couple people that can drive you into those decisions of where you want to be and what direction you can go with it. So, the networking part is a big part of it, but then, yeah, as Russ said, internships, finding ways to get that experience is huge. Whether it's volunteer or it's paid. Paid should be what happens in our field, just because you guys should be paid with what you do. And I know Sammy and they're going to have a whole discussion as far as getting paid with what you're worth, because that's a huge part of it. But also, there might be opportunities where a volunteer does make sense. If it's someone we really love and you really want to do something with that organization, you can spend 6 months volunteering. It's not going to kill you, right? But that experience is probably worth more than maybe whatever you're going to get paid. So understand that part of it as well.
How many people we got on the line over here?
Yeah, what we got, guys?
Hello, every virtual
Yes,
person. I just
hey.
seen myself.
We're not
over here.
ignoring
I'm
you
like,
guys
oh,
over
my
there.
nose. Goodness. Well, now I just sidetracked myself. But there will be a panel on networking later.
Yes.
I will be on that one.
Bailey's
So,
jumping ahead on us here.
so if you've enjoyed this, come to that.
Well, Bailey's asking, how do you maintain networking relationships? And I'm curious, how many of you has it crossed your mind at this moment already? As soon as we're done here, I'm going to send a message to Andy or Russ or Carson or anybody else we're going to meet today, and I'm going to introduce myself and I'm going to ask to get coffee or something with them. How many of you have thought that at this moment? Two people.
Nice.
Should be all of you.
Well, and it can be all of you. So if the whole reason in part, and I don't mean to speak for you guys, but one of the reasons that we work in education is so that we can help you become the next generation of people that we are. And people don't come to these things if they don't want to help you. Emily's moving to LSU and she said, can I come and be part of this because I want to help other people see what my experience was. And she's going to talk with you about how she negotiated her salary and what that experience was like for her.
Nice.
So we want you guys to be thinking the whole time how you can advance yourself. So, Carson, maybe you could start, and then Mary Kate, how do you maintain any, let's say, established networking relationships?
Yeah, I want to backtrack real quick to previous topic for just a second, because I was one of the people that did not have my stuff figured out. I was a right. I was a business major here at OSU, and I was working in the camps and event management department with athletics. And then going into like end of senior year, maybe a little earlier than 3 weeks before I graduated, I was like, I still want to stay in sports, but I don't want to be doing the camps and event management stuff. So then I looked at internships, started with the Blue Jackets doing the sexy job of email marketing. But then it was within, which is hilarious because I kind of do that now still too, but I digress. But the email marketing department was within digital. So I got to know the Blue Jackets social media coordinators really well. And I forget who asked the question here earlier, but they gave me just, a couple of random small time projects on the greatest social media platform known to man, Vine. And that's where I got to kind of cut my teeth, put my own like weird ideas out there, and learn and grow within the industry. So if you are older, junior or senior right now, and don't really know what you're doing, it's okay. You can still figure it out. It's not the end of the world. But to our points, like the main thing is once you have your eyes set on something, go and do it and try whatever you can to do it. So back to the networking question. I won't divulge too much because I'll be speaking about this for like an hour eventually. Actually, I think at 10, right? No, 1. Anyway, just be authentic in networking. So as Nicole said, like if you're in here and want to chat with any of us or any of the speakers at any time, other than probably when we're talking, where you can ask us questions, bunch of chairs out there, or I'm literally sitting doing work in the back between sessions. So like, come up and chat. I don't bite, I promise. So we're all here to help. As Andy said, pay it forward. That you are here right now, huge first step. Get to know us. I might not be able to help you, we individually, we might not, but we know people who can. And so through our networks, we can set you up with people who can answer those questions that you may have.
Yeah, I would add to definitely form like genuine connections. Don't just say, "Hi, I'm looking for a job." You know, that doesn't always work out well. But follow the people who have your dream jobs, follow them on social media, see what they're up to. Maintain the relationship via however makes sense for that person and yourself. If you met that person and they gave you their phone number, call them. Like, they were willing to give you their phone number. That's big. I don't give my cell phone number out to everybody. Or if you DM them on Twitter because that's how you met them, DM them and they'll DM you back. Their DMs are open for a reason. Shadow people. Like, your athletic department is such a huge resource. If you know you want to work in sports, just email their just school accounts and ask to shadow. You're not asking for too much. I'm always willing to have students come, especially our students who show genuine interest. Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to add to what Mary Kate just said. Like, before the event today even started, I had 3 people hit me up on LinkedIn, 1 person DM me on Twitter, and then I'm having someone already tomorrow coming and shadowing me at the crew for half a day. So like, that's a great point, Mary Kate.
Mhm.
Questions? Yeah, Andrew. Well, about 8 minutes, just, guys, so. we really
But
wanna
who's
make it quick.
counting?
Come on, Andrew.
Yeah, so I just had a question because I've looked at but I just always found it interesting that you kind of like need to have experience. You don't need, but it seems sometimes you need to have experience to get internships or jobs or whatever. But what if I don't have that experience and like I'm applying to try and get that experience? You know what I mean? Like, there's a balancing act between having experience and trying to get it. So like, what is your advice on that?
I just want to repeat it for the people on Zoom because I think Mary Kate indicated it was hard to hear before. So what Andrew's asking is, it seems like a lot of opportunities, you need to have experience in order to get experience. And so when you're in that catch-22, how do you kind of get started and move forward?
I think that's our job as hiring managers, is balancing that. I mean, Russ brought up a good point of, he really likes to take those green people so that they can learn along with him. And for me, it is a balance. Like, I want to hire someone who has the experience, who I know can make an immediate impact, but also knowing my personal story, that becomes a factor when I'm hiring too, because I don't want to discredit someone who has the motivation and the soft skills. Like, I really get along with them through the interview process, that maybe they are not as experienced, but obviously they've proven that they have the drive to create great work. So I'm going to go out on a limb and I'm going to pay it forward and have this person join. So Andrew, I think it's more on us as hiring managers than on you as the applicant.
I think Andy made a great point earlier too, on you don't need to have a job give you a project, or a school in a classroom setting give you a project. When I was in high school, all of my projects focused on the Blackhawks. I love the Chicago Blackhawks. I was like, oh, I'm going to just design for that. Like, it was my favorite thing to do. Pick a team that you like, create content for them. No one's going to tell you not to. You create your own projects. And then it's up to you to tell that story in an interview process. Apply for that job, no matter your experience level, because interviewing for it will give you such good experience and practice in how you communicate the projects you worked on to make it sound like experience, because the work will speak for itself.
Yeah, there's a student, and I've followed their Twitter for a little bit, and he would, he didn't have any portfolio at all, and he just started acquiring content for his favorite teams and making videos and then posting on Twitter, and he's just been doing that. I feel like every week he had a new one, or every, 3 times a week. Like, he was just pumping out so much content, and it eventually got him a job, even though he had nothing to show for it. And then, 3-6 months later, he had all these examples of his editing, ability and different styles and techniques, and he was able to get a job from that.
Questions, guys? 5 minutes left, 4 minutes.
And based off of that too, I mean, it's even my experience in school, we were not taught the programs. We learn everything on our own. And I'm sure that's probably similar to you guys. It's like, at some point, they teach you the foundation of design, but the programs themselves, you learn it yourself. You talk with your colleagues, you talk with your friends, hey, why do you do this? How do you do that? So again, that's networking within your own cocoon with your own friends and your colleagues and your classmates. But again, that goes back to just understanding those different programs, those platforms, giving the work in on the back end, because right now this is the time for you guys to do it all. Like I said before, learn it all as much as you can. Understand, I think Mary Kay mentioned that too. It's know all these different areas, because you never know what's going to hit and what's going to interest you when you try to do it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm a designer. Like, I try After Effects. I look at that crap. I'm like, no way, I'm done. I cannot do it. For whatever reason, I just get intimidated by it, and I just want to do it. Like, he can do a lot better and a lot quicker. All right, that's for you. So, but the idea of just that drive, and like Carson said, I mean, you don't have experience. The drive is really what does it. And I'll go real quick here. I had a student this year came to me. She wasn't a designer, but she had interest in branding and marketing. I'm like, that might be something different. So she had great passion for what she wanted to do. And I fit her into our team and say, okay, this is something new and unique for our team. It wasn't a designer, but it's someone who can help us out on the back end of getting like research for us to help create better content, right? So there are different ways that, like, and Carson mentioned too, it's a hiring committee, and that hiring person that you're looking at is like, if they have the creative mind to look at what you do and how you do things differently, that's an organization you want to belong to. You want to be a part of. If they don't, then maybe you got to think about, okay, maybe they don't have that foresight of what I can provide them or what we can do. So just keep that in mind too.
All right,